Hey up everybody and welcome back. Well, as you can see, we've got an old friend out here. This is just because I've had to rearrange things. He normally lives in the paint room under a cloth until I get everything sorted. So we're doing painting for Jensen's projects, and we'll be doing my frame as well on the YamBSAki. So what's going on? Well, continuing to get subscribers, thank you. I think it's 5,600 now. So again, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're going to enjoy the videos. Alright, before we get on to doing the engine, there's only one thing I have to mention. For those of you who've watched for a long time, you've seen my Popeye muscle before. I had a comment about my musculature, particularly in the arms. And I was wondering, I didn't go back to look at the video, I was wondering if the person had noticed my left arm. Because in my left arm I have a torn bicep, which of course just flops to the bottom, but it's still connected to the nerves and blood vessels. So when I do that, I get this big lump. Instead of being up here, it's just, which is why it's nicknamed a Popeye muscle. Alright, so anyway, let's get looking at the engine. Alright, I've been cleaning stuff up. Spot's keeping an eye on me. He's got the manual open ready for anything we might need. So the first thing I did was this here, the case that I've cut pieces off. That was, the metal was much more impregnated than I expected to be, being a smooth casting. So I cleaned it all out with a carbide burr to get right back to shiny metal, and as you can see, it welded up fine. So I had one comment about, because I blanked this off, about being able to get the oil level. Would this be here a little sump that's holding it? Well, it's a little bit like not being able to get the filler cap, to be honest. It's like the BSA, the trials bike. I virtually never check the oil in that. What I do is every couple of months I just change it. I mean, in that it's only a quart, in this it's a bit more. But, you know, this isn't a road going bike. We're not going to be keeping dibbing it. So we'll be fine. Alright, so let me bring you in and we'll start to look at the bits. Right, here are some of the engine bits. As you can imagine, I am a little miffed. The tray they were in has gone all brittle and it just broke apart, and I was right next to putting it on the bench. So you better go and make yourselves a cup of tea while I pick all this stuff up and make sure nothing vital has disappeared under a bench somewhere. Now then, I took the precaution of sliding a bit of wood under this tray. That was so annoying. There it is, look, it just went all brittle. I got it right to about here and it just went crash. Okay, so this is why I needed to buy a manual, because it is several years ago that I took all this out of the engine. So who knows where it goes. Now a lot of it, of course, we're going to scrap. We're not going to need the alternator and things like that. So let's have a little rummage through here first and see what we've got. So this is the crank. Oh God! I got various little bits in there, so let me put that to one side. Handlebar bits, well, we don't need them, so we can just put those out of the way. What else have we got in here? They look like clutch springs and what have you. And oh, that's the end cover, I think, for the starter motor. There are various gears in here. That is the bit that goes on the end of the cylinder head, which has a recirc system for the anti-pollution stuff. These go back to the airbox, so we can scrap that. As I say, we don't need the alternator. We can scrap that. Well, I say scrap, we'll put it to one side. Carb manifolds, don't need them. Those are the carb bits. More clutch. Ignition. Obviously this engine had the electronic ignition, because there's the pickup plate. Check your view again. Yep. There's the plate with the pickups on, so that also is redundant. Clutch plates, clutch centre, valve covers. There's little bits and pieces, so let's move that out of the way. I'm running out of places to put things, hang on. Down there. Okay, pistons. Give them a clean up, they look okay. Oh, there's another part, there's the outer part of the alternator, so that's not needed. Now this is what fell on the floor. That's part of the gear change. That's the valve oil feed that goes up the front of the engine. That I think is where the ignition mounted. Now we might need that just to sort of fill holes and things, but we're obviously not putting the ignition plate in there. Other than that, whoa, I wonder what that is. This box is almost just completely filled with nuts and bolts and things like that that fell on the floor. So, where to start? Right, where to start? Well, the first thing I've got to do, we'll take, hang on, move you over there, give the chest. I don't know if I mentioned this in last week's videos, but I wanted to take these, particularly these long studs out. I could not get them out. I mean, I don't know, they must have put some form of Loctite or other on them, but certainly this, I think I worked on this one here, yeah. Let me check you again. I put two nuts on the end, wouldn't budge. Heated it mad hot, I mean, still wouldn't budge. So I thought, well, okay, these are actually wasted, so I can afford to grip it down here. Put the old vice grips on right down at the bottom, wouldn't budge, so I was just terrified I was going to break something. So they're just going to have to stay in, because I'm not going to run the risk of doing some damage just to get them out. We'll just have to be careful every time we move it around to make sure we don't bend them. And anyway, once this case is cleaned up, they can be put out of the way. Right, so the one thing we have got to take out, because we're going to bead blast this is the gear change mechanism. So let's see about getting this out. It's got, well, I'll bring you in to show you this. Oh, my fingers are dirty. Don't touch the camera like that, Michael. Hang on, I'm going to turn you off with one clean finger. Right, let's have a look at that. As I said, that little thing there, as the Phillips side, or whatever it is, what is it, JS something or other, has been damaged, but I'm not sure whether I've actually got to take that out. There's a bolt here that holds the mechanism with the spring on. That is a big disc that goes under here, and then there's another plate which goes under there, so I've got a feeling when I take those off the drum will probably come out. Now there's a couple of split pins inside, but we'll get to them in a moment. So let me bend back these tab washers here. Well, it's a tab plate really, a locking plate. These look like 10mm heads. Okay. 10mm. No, they're smaller. Actually, I think they're only eighths. And I don't know whether I'll get. Yes, they are eighths. I'll get an 8 socket on that. Get it on that one. Get some little bags out in a minute. We'll keep all these together. By the way, did you enjoy the little Enfield test ride? I haven't taken out the sections yet because they're still horrible and muddy. But it certainly rides nicely. Oh, I see what's coming. So we've got some pressure, we've got the spring. Now then, what size is that there? Looks to be a little bit bigger. 12, I thought so. When I looked at that 11, I thought to myself, no, I bet that's a 12. Actually, it's a 13. No, it's not. I've got the wrong one in the 12 hole there. No. Yeah, it is 12. Quiet, isn't it? Point. Alright. So that all comes off there. That comes out of there. That comes out of there. I'm going to take the forks off by the looks of it. Something's certainly holding you. Let me move you around a little bit so you can see inside of here. put split pins in so you couldn't get at the... Who the hell put these bloody split pins in here? Okay, I've got them out. If you thought that first one was awkward, the others were round the back. Anyway, now it appears that this I want that come out. That, I think, comes... Let's have another look in the book. It doesn't tell you much though, I must admit. Now I just looked at an exploded diagram and the detente is behind a big plug here which I'm just screwing out now. Oh yeah, there it is, look. With and spring. Still not coming any further. I guess the plunger doesn't come back far enough. Let's see if we can get that out. There's the little plunger. Now are you going to come out? I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little, is it sprung? No, there's a little nub on the bottom of this. We got any Yamaha 650 experts watching? Something still seems to be holding these selector forks on there. wonder if that comes out. It's a little pin that comes out. Well, of course it's got a dome top, so you can't get hold of it. Doesn't punch out, there's nothing on the other side. Have a little look at the book. Alright, it was obvious when you thought about it. There is, of course, in there the little pin that runs in the groove inside. How you get them out though, I mean, I can get that one, so that slides fine. My God, this is going to be a bugger to put back together. They have a little hole in the centre, so I'm trying to... Oh, right, that's two. And where's the third one? The third one is in there. Voila! Okay, there's that. Now I'm going to fasten these together. So, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll just put them back on here the way they come off it. So there's our gear change drum. So it's going to be that one. I'll even push that back in, look. That the one. Whoa! That one. There's that little thing I was telling you about. Must be locking it on there. And then that one goes on last. Alright. So let me get a nice big bag and we'll put all this gear change stuff together. Runs in a little needle roller bearing down there. So I'll have to make sure I plug that up. There's one of those little doodads for sealing things for the clutch rod to run through. Okay, so the cases are ready now to be bead blasted. So as I say, let me go and get a bag. Alright, let's have a look at the barrels. As I say, these not too bad at all actually. Just a very light horny might do. So the first thing I'm going to take off, this is the cam chain tensioner, and there are apparently two different ones because that's off the other engine. Why they changed, I don't know. Whether they are interchangeable, I don't know. But we shall see. Get this off and then I'll mask up all these orifices. There, that comes off there. Have a look at them, see what's what. The other thing to take off is this cam chain guide. Okay, we'll screw them in there. So we know where they are. Put those in there with that. Chromed. So I'll mask those up, seal up this, and then we'll give it. Now that's got the O-ring. Didn't the XS750 have O-rings in there as well? If so, what's the point of the gasket? I think somebody's been inside this engine before I took it apart. Alright. So that's the sump plate, which I gave a little bit of a blast over. See, I covered over the holes. So we've got to take this apart. Fancy putting them in there. Now, how tight do you think they are? And are they that JS thing, which I don't have a screwdriver for? I suppose I better get online and order one. Let's see if they'll just come out. I doubt it very much. No, we'll have to work on them to get them out. If I heat it up a little bit, it'll slacken them off enough to take them out with an ordinary screwdriver. Let me have a go at that. Alright, I've got a bit that fits them that will go in the impact. Okay. Now then, it doesn't tell you. Hold on a second. I've got the base converter on. It doesn't tell you anything about getting them out. Actually, that climber manual isn't very good at all, really. Anyway, but I can see that the rocker shaft is threaded, and it's threaded 6mm. So what I've done is I've modified the slide hammer I made. This is for taking the Lucas Advanced Retard units, ignition units, off British bikes. And what I did have was a nut on this end, just so that I could take this slide hammer off and use it on other things. So what I've done is I've rethreaded it to 6mm, 6 1.0. That should go in there. Now when I take these off, I've got to lay them out exactly right. Now this is the exhaust end, because you can see that thing there. That's this doodad. That goes like that. So let's see if this will work. Yep. All right. I thought that wasn't going to screw off. So let's put these over here. There's no thrust washers or anything like that. They just run in the alloy heads. So that is, I'm going to have stuff here, I'll write on what it is. So that is the right hand, where are we? Yep, the right hand. No, it's the left hand, because it could be the other way up, wouldn't it? So that's the left hand exhaust. Okay, so that's left exhaust, right exhaust, left inlet, right inlet. Now then, one strange thing here is this one has an insert which half covers that. So take this one out. And that side is the same. So we're going to have a look at that. Let's warm that up a bit. It's coming. Now then, can you see that? Ow! Sorry! Sorry! There you see, let me get a light. A little light. Where's my little light gone? There it is. I know sometimes I shine a light in and it makes it worse. Can you see that? So I've got to get that insert out. So I'm going to have to drive it out from this side. Yeah, drive it out from this side because as you can see it's sort of belled over that end. So I guess we've got to put it on something. Warm this up and then get a drift to get that out. Alright, let me go and see about that. Now I've made up a drift to fit in there. I just gave it a little tap and there seems to be it's alright, I'm not flat on the ground, I'm on that. Alright, there's lowering on it as well. Okay, oh now we've got a Yamaha special tool. Right, there's those. So now I can get these things out and then we can give that a bead blast. Right now, the last thing I'm going to do this weekend is take the valves out so that I can bead blast the head. Now, I've done this a number of times, but we've got a lot of new subscribers and maybe some of them haven't seen this done. So what we're going to do is we're going to compress the valve spring so we can get the little collets out. You'll see all these pieces as it comes to bits. Here they're called keepers, valve keepers. So here's the valve compression tool that I use. This open end goes on there, so it's around the edge of there and you can get at the collets. and this end goes into the valve. It'll seat itself in the centre because valves are generally curved. Now if you've got one of these where the thing comes off, you want to put that on the collet end, because if you put this on here, you're going to be turning this, and as that moves it tends to walk. So put that onto the valve head and it'll stay where it's put. So we put that in there. Get that nicely centered on there. Get that into the valve before you get too tight. Make sure you can get in. Okay, let me check you're still in picture, in frame if we want to get technical. Then what we're going to do is tighten this up. That's going to compress the valve spring. Now, actually they've come loose, but very often the collets really stick and you'll put some pressure on and nothing will happen. If that does happen, just give it a sharp tap and that will break the collets free. But as it happens, I can feel here that they're just going straight down. So you screw it down. I'm hoping this is sort of showing until you can get the collets out. And you can do this a number of ways. You can do it with a little pick, you can do it with a pair of needle nose pliers, you can do it with a magnet. Well, I'll take these out and I'll show you all the constituent parts. Then when you've got them out, you just release the pressure on the tool. Like this. And then the valve springs will come off. There will be something of that sort on the top. There's a similar one on the bottom as a seat. There are always two valve springs, and these, of course, you'll see the outer one is a much thicker gauge than the inner one. And then there is the valve. Now, the top of the valve here, you see the little groove? Well, that's what the collets fit into. And then the spring on this, the two collets fit into that, and then when the spring pushes up, because the collets are tapered, I'm going to have to check the camera in a minute, make sure you can still see all this. The collars are tapered, so when this pushes up, they go in tight, and as I say, that's what sometimes locks them in. So that's how you do it. And then because we're rebuilding it, we'll put all the bits for each valve together, so we have the same springs, the same seats, the same collets and everything. And what we'll also do now, just with this one out of interest, is see how much wear there is in the valve guide. You just put the valve in. God, there's none. I mean, there's none. You notice me wiping the oil off. You want to do this dry, because you don't want the oil to be taking up any space. So if all those valves are as good as that, hang on, let me find the guide. If all those valves are as good as that, we'll just clean this head and then rebuild it with the existing parts. Okay, let me have a look at this bit of film, just in case I moved you out and you didn't see anything, and then I'll come back. Right, that all seems pretty good, but let me clarify something that maybe wasn't as well explained as it should be. When I talked about making sure you put this end on the valve, what I meant was don't have it that way around. Right, with this on the valve, because when you're turning this, you see that turns and it really makes it difficult to clamp down. Whereas here, with it that way around, that's got a nice rounded over top, and as I say, the valve will be dished slightly, so this will automatically find the center and it won't wander, and it'll just pull this straight down. Okay, so I won't bore you with the other ones. I'll take the other 3 valves out, and then I'll set to and bead blast this. Now, when I did the Monster engine, you might remember it was black, and I did it in 2 stages because the glass bead, that black paint is really difficult to get off. So I did it first with garnet, which is quite an abrasive. Actually, that was done with garnet. Then when I got all the paint off, I did it with the glass bead, which is round, which tends to peen it, and it almost gives you a polished finish. It's a really nice finish, which is pretty dirt resistant. It'll clean off nicely. So I'll get everything done, and then next week we'll start laying pieces out and clean them so we can rebuild the motor. So I'm going to go and do some paint. Until I see you again, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.